Hey everybody, welcome to the D. Louise book series. I'm Christina Kristina. This is where we talk books, read books and talk books. No special effects going on here. No theme music, very low tech situation going on here. I have a request. I need a miracle, and I'm hoping that all of you will be able to provide me with said miracle. I need 1,000 subscribers by Christmas, but I don't think I'm gonna get it. She's got a thing for twisty ties. So, anyways, um, uh, thank you for all the people that have subscribed. It's up to you to help me. I'm running out of time here. I don't think it's going to happen. It would be a massive miracle if you've got a big channel, a big influence, or something like that. Help a gal out. It's been a year, and look at where I stand. Little old me. Also, check out. I'm going to suspend Flashback Mondays right now, I think, because I can't get to the books because they're all decorated. But Star Trek Fridays, we're going through the series. I'm a series person. I like to get the series progression. You know, the characters progress to the episodes. And we're doing 30 Days of Janet Ivanovich. I'm reading Janet. I'm reading JP. And I'm J.A. Jance. And Eve Dallas, J.D. Robb, Nora Roberts is 2-3 books a day I'm going at here. But so today we are doing SIZZLING 16. If you haven't checked out the audiobooks, please do. They're awesome. I love Lorelei King for Janet and Susan Erickson for J.D. Robb. And we've got a little problem. First off, Stephanie was left his Uncle Piff's lucky bottle. And there's a little secret to that bottle that you will have to find out at the end. That's a little too much. So Stephanie is broke, and she has no car. And Lula takes her to the office, and Connie gives them the bad news. Hello. How are you? What's up? Mickey Gritch snatched Vinnie. Last night he caught Vinnie in a compromising position, pants down on Stark Street, on the corner of Stark and 13th, and from what I've pieced together, Gritch and 2 of the boys dragged Vinnie at gunpoint into the back of a Cadillac Escalade and took off. I know that corner, Lula said. That's Maureen Brown's corner. Maureen and me used to hang out back when I was a hoe. She wasn't as good a hoe. Sorry, computer problems. But she wasn't no skank hoe either. And anyway, I guess Vinnie had a run of bad luck at the track. And now he owes Mickey $786,000. Whoa, Lula said. That's a lot of money. Some of it's interest, Connie told her. The interest might be negotiable. Mickey Gritch has been Vinnie's bookie for as long as I can remember, and this isn't the first time Vinnie's owed money, but I don't recall him ever owing this much. Mickey Gritch works for Bobby Sunflower now, Lula said. You don't want to mess with Bobby. Is this serious? I asked Connie. Times are rough and Mickey wants his money. Too many people sniffing him, so they're going to make an example of Vinnie. If Vinnie doesn't come up with the money by the end of the week, they're going to kill him. And Vinnie works for Bobby Sunflower thought mistakenly thought, and we all know better, that by taking Vinnie's father-in-law, who's in the mob, who's called Harry the Hammer, would help and give Bobby Sunflower the money, but Harry the Hammer refused, and Lucille is throwing him out too. Lucille is Vinnie's wife. Connie suggests they try and find Vinnie, and they go for donuts, and Morelli shows up and says a bunch of people are unhappy with Vinnie. Then they go looking for Bobby Sunflower at several locations. They don't find him. Nope. She calls Ranger, tells him she's going in the building. If she doesn't come out in a few minutes, to please send somebody to rescue her. They go in, the whole place is filled with rats, and they leave. Then she goes to Rangeman, tells him she needs a tracking lesson. And well, I've already started this, but that I enjoy these books so much that I have to share them with you. I can't talk about these books without sharing the books with you. And there she goes. No matter what time of day I do a video, she goes off. Well, that was a short one. Last time she went off 12 times. I need a tracking lesson, I said to Ranger. You know how you always know my location? I want to be able to do that. I want to put one of those gizmos on someone's car. I can give you the gizmo, Ranger said, and I can show you how to install it, but it won't do you any good if you can't receive the signals. It would be easier and less expensive if you let me track this person for you. That would be great. I need to know where Mickey Gritch is. He's kidnapped Vinnie, and I've got to get Vinnie back. Why? I blew out a sigh. It's the right thing to do. Ranger opened his desk, took out a set of keys, and tossed them to me. You need a car, so you giving me one? It's the right thing to do, Ranger said. She goes to the office. Then Lula and Stephanie go to try and get Dirk McCuddle, one of her open FTAs. Then they visit all his wives, and they come up empty. And then her mother calls her and says, you better go get Grandma at the viewing. And one of the ways that the Berg has their entertainment or finds their gossip is the deli, the bakery, the beauty salon, and viewings. Even if they do not know the deceased, they go to the viewings. And Grandma Mazza, as we've learned in the past and we'll see in the future, she does not like a closed casket. If she's getting the time to get dressed nicely and make the trip to the funeral home, she wants to be able to see the deceased. Flat right there. So Stephanie Mom's calls her, tells her to go get the grandmother. The funeral home calls Stephanie, tells her to come get the grandmother. And Mitchell Shepard owns the funeral home. He bought it a year ago and probably regrets his decision. People in the Berg take their funeral home seriously, and since the Berg lacks a movie theater or mall, the funeral home is most often the entertainment of choice. Just a peek, Grandma said. I won't tell no one. Can't do it. The family wants the casket closed. Grandma Mazza came to live with my parents when Grandpa Mazza passed on to wherever it is the bacon-eating, whiskey-drinking, gravy-loving people pass on to. She's 5'5" on a good day, has tightly permed gray hair, and a body that's mostly slack skin on spindle bones, and an attitude only old ladies can pull off. I made an effort to come here today, and what good is it if I can't even see the deceased, Grandma said. Next time I'm going to the Morton's mortuary. They never have closed caskets. She takes Grandma home and she stays for pot roast, and then afterwards they go to Sunflower's funeral home to try and get a lead. They see Bobby Sunflower at the home and they follow him a little bit. So I got out and stood next to him, and my pulse didn't drop back. Ranger at close proximity on a dark and deserted street could make any woman's heart race. You scared the bejesus out of me, I said to him. I didn't know it was you at first. Chet was monitoring the fleet, and he saw you make a U-turn and start tailing Gritch. You were in the neighborhood? No. I grabbed my keys and came out to watch you in action. He did a full body scan on me. Is this a new look? Lula and I were here earlier, and Lula said I'd fit in better if I was a hoe. Ranger put his hands to my waist and slid them up to bare skin to where I had my skirt rolled and tucked into my bra. He loosened my shirt and smoothed it down. You looked cold, he said. I was pretty sure he was referring to the state of my nipples, and because it was Ranger, I was also pretty sure he knew cold had nothing to do with it. You gotta love it. So she goes home, and I don't know why. Oh, he says, I moved a step back from him. Are you feeling domestic? The corners of his mouth softened into the smallest of smiles. I'm feeling friendly. He closed the distance between us, lifted my bag off my shoulder, and his focus moved from me to the bag. Are you carrying? He asked. This bag is heavy. It's the bottle. I took Uncle Pip's bottle out of my bag and set it on the kitchen counter. Why are you carrying this bottle? Ranger asked. This is the bottle I inherited from my uncle. It's supposed to be lucky, and Lula decided we need to carry it with us just in case. So the next day they go to the office, and again they look for McCoodle, and they find his best friend, and his best friend says he has another wife. Dirk was arrested for bigamy. He had about 5 or 6 wives. So Ernie says he has another wife. They go to the house, and unfortunately, the current wife wasn't really paying attention. She just said he was sleeping. Dirk passed away overnight. So there's a bond for Stephanie. So then Ranger finds them at a bakery the next day, says he has to go out of town. He'll be back tomorrow. Then they go looking for Dolly Malinsky, and they call all around to find her. And, that's the wife. And they found him dead. So then they go looking for Mortimer Chopper. He has a pet, Mr. Jingles. And they don't know it yet, but Mr. Jingles is an alligator. And he hides behind the couch, and he provides security for Chopper. So Morelli calls her. She greets Morelli at Pino's lunch, and he gives her the papers from McCurdle, and then she asks about Bobby Sunflower, and then they talk about the fact that they're quote-unquote broken up. Every other book, they're on again, off again romance. You have that effect on me. My biggest fear is that someday I'm going to show up to arrest someone, and it's going to be you. Would you do that? Morelli gave up on the waitress and slouched down a little. I'd put the cuffs on you. And then what? I asked. His mouth curved into a small smile, and his eyes darkened. Do you want to know the details? My turn to smile. Not here. You're teasing me, Morelli said. I like it. That led to a long silence while we both considered the next move. It would be easy to fall back into an intimate relationship with Morelli. He was fun and sexy and easy to live with. I liked his dog. He could also be difficult to live with. He hated my job, and he insisted on controlling the television remote. We had a history of breaking up and eventually getting back together. I suppose it suited our current lifestyle, but it was probably establishing bad habits. Do you remember why we broke up? Morelli asked. You needed space. I needed toast. You ate the last piece of bread and you didn't get more. I was busy. I forgot. You're supposed to remember those things. You're a woman. I'm supposed to remember toast? Yeah. What about you? What are you supposed to remember? Condoms. Here's the scary part. It's sort of sad. So he gives her options on finding shopper. Then one of Ranger men calls. He found Gritch's location, and she goes by to the office to get Lula, and they run into Walter Moonman Dunblin. We've seen him in previous books. He's got a windfall of money, which really isn't addressed other than the 2 times he gets a windfall of money, but it's never addressed additionally. He has bought himself a motorhome, and he is going around town in his motorhome. Vinnie says Connie says they have a new FTA, Lenny Pickerel. Apparently he's the town hero. He was protesting the toilet paper in the turnpike restrooms, and he was stealing them all in hopes that the Port Authority for Jersey, the turnpike peoples, would buy better toilet paper, and they never did. And he has thousands of mounds of toilet paper in his house. Gee, could have used him during COVID, couldn't you? Just saying. And his relatives end up sticking up for him, so she never really gets him. So I have this. Oh, Lula's talking about the toilet paper there. Let's see. So the car belongs to Bobby Sunflower, Chet said. The house is owned by a holding company, and the Sunflower owns the holding company. Can you find out if the holding company owns other properties? Sure, I'll get back to you. This is like having your own private detective agency, Lula said. Does Ranger keep a tally of services? Do you gotta pay up one way or another at the end of the month? I tell you, I wouldn't mind doing that. He's heart-stopping hot. I had my way, I'd spread sauce on him and work him like a rib. The thought of working Ranger like a rib gave me a hot flash that prickled from my scalp down to my doodah. You just turned red. I've never seen you turn red like that before. I love these books. They return to the office. Connie says Sunflower called. He's impatient about his money. They decide they're going to stink bomb Sunflower's house. She goes to the Quaker Mall after Chopper, no luck. So then they get ready to go bomb Sunflower's house to stink bomb it, and before they can do what they had planned to do, somebody comes by and does a drive-by shooting and then really bombs the house. But the vehicle they'd come in, they can't go back because it's surrounded by police and fire department stuff. So they call Mooner to pick him up. Morelli is there, and he's talking about Bobby Sunflower's house being burned, and him and Stephanie have words. You'd go home with someone who might be a liar? Yeah, Morelli said. I'm getting desperate. You were the one who wanted to break up. You said I wasn't relationship material. I didn't say that. You did. Can I take it back? I hadn't had my coffee yet, and I needed... I narrowed my eyes at him. You needed what? Toast. Morelli sighed. He blew out a sigh. This isn't going to happen tonight, is it? No. I was getting mad all over again. No one pushed my buttons like Morelli. I mean, why was I the one who had to remember to buy the bread? Okay, in all honesty, I thought this was a pretty stupid thing to break up over, and in all honesty, I should have remembered to buy the bread. That didn't alter the fact that I was mad. Mad wasn't a reasonable emotion, and the truth was I wasn't entirely sure if I was mad at Morelli or mad at myself. So, they go back to the Bond's office, and uh, they just they discover that Vinnie wasn't in the house at bomb, so they still have to look for him. You got bags under your eyes, Lula said to me. You spend the night with Morelli? No. We're in the off-again phase of our on-again, off-again relationship, I told her. It was just one of those sleepless nights. I had bags under my eyes because I thrashed around all night in a state of overbread. And then I was in a state because I had two men in my life and I had no clue what to do with them. I loved them each in different ways, and I was too traditional and Catholic to enjoy them. How sick is that? I wasn't a practicing Catholic, but I had guilt, and I was stuck with all these rules about relationships. And then there was my mother, who suspected I was mortally afraid I would end up with Ranger, and my grandmother, who probably thought I was an idiot not to be sleeping with both of them, and my father, who didn't think there was a man alive who was worthy of me, so I'd probably gotten about an hour's sleep. Then Chet had called at 7 o'clock, mid-morning for Ranger's team. So he gives a Bluetooth address. They decide to go to the building with the rats to look for Vinnie, and they actually find him. And yeah, they find him. They say Vinnie's on the 4th floor. So they take they get a phone call in the middle of that her grandmother was doing aerobic exercises to those videos. You remember all those videos in the 80s? They exist now on YouTube, but back then you had to actually have a VCR and watch them. And her grandmother was doing exercises and she broke her foot. So then they return to the office and they tell Connie they found Vinnie, and they make a plan to go get Vinnie. They're going to go in, and Luther's going to be a distraction. Connie's going to be in the getaway car, and Lula's going to go pretend to go give services to some invented person. And then she's going to let Stephanie in the back door, and they're going to go up and get Vinnie. So they find Vinnie, and he's handcuffed to the toilet. And, of course, Stephanie doesn't have handcuff keys. She loses handcuffs. She doesn't have handcuffs. She doesn't have a spray gun. It's just a clusterfuck. So she shoots. She actually brought her gun with her this time. She shot the chain. She got Vinnie off the toilet, and they go out the window, and they go out to the fire escape, and it's rusted. And while they're going out the fire escape disintegrates, and Ranger catches her. Of course, isn't that nice? So Ranger took Connie and Lula to the office and waited while they got into their cars and drove away. The Rangeman SUV was still behind us, idling at the curb. Ranger called back and had Vinnie transferred to the Jeep. Do I need to know why he's in his underwear? Ranger asked me. That's how he was captured. Vinnie climbed into the back, chain dangling from his handcuff, and Ranger took a universal handcuff key out of his pocket and handed it to Vinnie. I assume the first shot I heard was aimed at that chain, Ranger said to me. I didn't have a handcuff key. You're a bounty hunter, Ranger said. You always carry handcuffs. I forgot, but I remembered my gun, and I whacked someone in the head with your mag light. Ranger smiled at me. Babe. um, so they take him to the bond office. He can't stay there. She takes him to an apartment. Vinnie tells Steph that Sunflower is in trouble. He needs money. He needs respect. He's in the middle of a war and he can't show weakness. Vinnie tells her the bond office is in trouble. Well, duh. She takes Vinnie to, he spends the night at her apartment. Then she takes him to her parents' house. Her mother's like, you get him out of here or else. And then he goes back to her place. Then they go looking for Bitchy. And Butch was feeding. So he's got a new job. One of their FTAs, Butchie's got a new job. He's working at the meat factory. And I agree with Lula that where's that line? I don't like to see them chopping up cows. I like thinking meat grows in the supermarket. Yeah, that's the better way to look at it. So they're herding cows into the truck, and that's what the guy's job is. And Lula goes after him and tackles him, and the cows leave, and they're wandering all through the city. You have to read it. So her mom calls and said if she ever wants to see pineapple upside down cake again, she's got to get rid of Vinnie. Then Morelli comes by and they end up in a fight again. Oh, I didn't write that down. So they fight through the whole book. They always fight through the whole book. Morelli stepped close to me, hands at my waist, and he snuzzled my neck. Is this a social visit? I asked him. Not entirely. I wanted to see if you smelled like cow. I stepped away and looked at him. Well, nope. Is it against the law to smell like cow? It is if you let a herd of them loose in the city. How did you know? Several of the workers who were interviewed remember seeing a black woman with red hair and big boobs and a pretty girl with a brown ponytail. They thought I was pretty. So then they actually get one of their skips. She gets the skip. She's got them all tied up. And they're deciding that they're really lucky. And a normal person might want to take the skip to the police department. Then go to the 7-Eleven. But no! These two got the skip in the car, and you think... Alright, so a normal person would take the skip to the police station and get the bond info. And or a normal person who decided they absolutely had to have a winning lottery ticket, one person would go into the store to buy said ticket and the other person would stay in the car. But no! These two leave the skip in the car alone and both of them go into the 7-Eleven and he escapes. Well, duh! So then Mooner shows up and Vinnie's gone. So Stephanie calls Glitch about Vinnie and she tells him she lost Vinnie. Connie finds out Vinnie was writing fake bonds. Her mom calls. Her grandma's gone to a funeral again. Stephanie buys chicken for the alligator, and what they're going to do is they've decided that they're going to go to these people who have the most money in town, and they're going to get the most money in town, and then they're going to give it back to the guy as payment of Vinnie's ransom. So they do. They get 1.2 mil, I think. So then she's talking to Ranger. And I'm sorry, I have to share this stuff. Um, Morelli set the bags on my counter and helped himself to a beer. Lula, I'm not saying. Was anyone hurt? Did any dogs or cats get eaten? Morelli chugged some beer. Negative. Mr. Jingles got caught without incident. Animal Control went to serve Chopper with a ticket, and they said his door was open, and there was grease stains all over his apartment, and it smelled like fried chicken and alligator. Go figure, I said. He lounged against the counter. I don't suppose I could persuade you to take a shower. No persuading necessary. I can't stand myself. I'm going to take a shower and throw away my clothes. It's what might happen after the shower that would be a hard sell. My specialty, Morelli said. I might even start the hard sell while you're in the shower. I thought you wanted to date other women. I didn't want to date other women. We decided the heat of the battle that we were no longer exclusively attached, and I could date other men. Morelli was starting to look annoyed. Have you been dating other men? Maybe. As long as it isn't Ranger. I don't think Ranger dates. The idea of Ranger dating was pretty strange. I've seen him in bars, stocking skips. I've had dinner with him on occasion, but I couldn't imagine him calling up a woman for a date. I suspected he had a small list of non-threatening, cooperative women who he visited late at night when the mood struck. Whatever it is Ranger does, I don't want him doing it with you, Morelli said. He's a nut. He's dangerous. He's mellow now, I told Morelli. He's a businessman. So I think I'm gonna wait a minute, I gotta check this out. They go to so her and Morelli are getting close, like I just said. They were getting a little, and Morelli gets calls about dead people. So she calls Ranger, who listens to the police banner. Who are the dead people? And then he knows. He knows what Connie and Lulu and her did that day. He goes, you stole money from Chopper and Sunflower so you could give it back to Sunflower and bail Vinnie out, didn't you? Who, me? Anyone else would have just killed the alligator, Ranger said. How do you know? I know everything, and you're modest. No, Ranger said. I'm not modest, and he disconnected. So I don't think there's so then they get Vinnie back. Well, and then these other guys show up and they want Vinnie, and they cause a big ruckus in the office. Vinnie hides in his office. He's got one of these really security doors so they don't get him. So, and Connie, they try to take Lula. They shoot Lula in the arm scraped. Connie shoots one of them in the knee, and they end up leaving without stuff. Then the guy that owns the bonds business calls and says he wants to see Vinnie, and so they go to see the guy at his office, and it's really weird because it's really empty. There are no employees in the office, and someone is busy shredding papers. So the guy says he wants his money back. He knows Vinnie's been writing the bad bonds. They leave. Later that night, Stephanie and Ranger go back, and they discover the guy dead. So I guess Vinnie's pretty out in the clear. And they also discover all the business records of some of the other men involved in the businesses. So they got a good deal there. So you have to check it out to find out what was really lucky about Uncle Pip's bottle. If Morelli and Stephanie make up, if she ends up in bed with Ranger, and what happens with Vinnie. And we will be seeing Mooner and his bus for the next couple of books, because that will be the new Bonds office, because the Bonds office is gone. Burnt to the ground towards the end of the book. So they will be in the Mooner bus for a while, and it'll be interesting. So you'll have to check it out. And I hope you're enjoying these books as much as I am. I can't do these books without sharing them with you. They're so much fun. And I please hope you like and subscribe my books. And let me see if I can get my child over here one more time. Hey, Smoke! Smoke! Mommy got a twisty tie. You want a twisty tie? No, she's not interested anymore. So, please like and subscribe. Have a good night.